We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Canada's foreign minister met with her American counterpart. Where there's smoke, there's a lot of fire in the Amazon rainforest. The ice is melting in Greenland. A floating nuclear power plant. Nigeria is defeating polio. Extreme e-gaming can be hazardous to your health. A stage play in Toronto with a message. Renewing Edmonton's urban forest. Some unusual celebrations. A 4-year-old's birthday party at the U.S. National Zoo. And meet Miss World Philippines BC. In sports, the Vancouver Whitecaps defeat DC United. I'm Thomas I. Likeness with Eagle News, broadcasting from our Edmonton studio, bringing you stories from around the globe. The detention of 2 Canadians in China was on the agenda when Canada's foreign minister met with her U.S. counterpart. Chrystia Freeland and U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met in Ottawa. The arrest of 2 Canadians by Chinese authorities is thought to be in retaliation for Canada's decision to extradite Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou to the U.S. Freeland says she will not interfere in that decision.
Extradition is a criminal justice matter. It is not a political matter. And the case of Ms. Meng is currently before the Canadian courts, as it ought to be. As for the U.S. case against Ms. Meng, I think that's a matter for the U.S. and the U.S. criminal justice authorities.
Pompeo says the U.S. is trying to secure the release of the detained Canadians.
And please do know that our team is focused on helping those 2 Canadians be released. China needs to honor the commitments it's made to the world, and it's our expectation they'll do so. We're working on it diligently. It's wrong that they're being held.
Freeland says she and Pompeo also discussed the situation in Venezuela.
We also believe that it is important to explore all possible paths to a resolution of the situation. With that in mind, I'll be traveling next week to Cuba for a bilateral meeting with the Cuban foreign minister.
Also on the agenda was South Korea's decision to end a military intelligence sharing pact with Japan, Russia, and the G7. From the environmental file, a couple of items. First, we go to Brazil, where wildfires are raging in the Amazon forest. Now, the fires have devoured large sections of rainforest. These shots you see here were taken in Rio Branco, Brazil, where nearby fires have blanketed the city in smoke. Airlines diverted a number of commercial flights because of the smoke. Now, these aerial images give you an idea of what the situation is like in the rainforest. Officials peg the number of forest fires at nearly 73,000 for the first 8 months of the year. That's the highest number since 2013. Last year at this time, there were less than 40,000 fires. The fires tend to intensify during the dry season, which usually ends in October or early November. Environmentalists blame this year's sharp increase on accelerating deforestation, as land is cleared to make way for crops or grazing. The wildfires prompted French President Emmanuel Macron to take to Twitter, where he tweeted these words, "Our house is on fire, literally." Macron calls the burning rainforest an international crisis. From fire, we go to ice. In ice-covered Greenland, the glaciers are melting, and experts are blaming climate change. Joshua Willis is with NASA's Oceans Melting Greenland mission. Willis says the damage can be seen with the naked eye.
So Greenland's definitely melting, and this year has been incredibly warm. As we've flown over the ice sheet this year, we've seen evidence of melt pools, not just in the coast, but far inland, even at very high elevation. So it's been a really warm year, and I think it could be a record year of ice loss for Greenland.
Willis says the glaciers are receding by a process called calving. That's when big chunks of ice break off, as we see here. Willis says the effects of the ice loss reach far beyond Greenland.
Well, it's definitely alarming the speed with which Greenland is losing mass. It's big and it's increasing. The rate of ice loss here in Greenland appears to be accelerating over the last couple of decades, and it has the potential to reach very high rates, causing sea level rise all around the world. So the billions of tons of ice lost here every year have an impact not just in Greenland, but all across the planet.
As Russia continues to develop its oil resources in remote Arctic regions, it has had to come up with new ways to supply those areas with electricity. The country has launched the world's first floating nuclear power station. Named the academic Lomonosov, the reactor is on a 5,000-kilometer journey from the Arctic port of Murmansk to northeastern Siberia. The vessel is loaded with nuclear fuel and will replace an existing nuclear plant and a closed coal-fired plant. Now, the project is not without controversy. Environmental groups have called it Chernobyl on ice and a nuclear Titanic. The Russian nuclear agency, Rosatom, says it intends to sell such reactors worldwide. Up next, polio is being defeated in Nigeria. Sports injuries from e-gaming. A solid message in a Toronto stage play. Volunteers help trees take root in Edmonton. This is Eagle News. You're watching Eagle News. Doctors are winning the war against polio in Nigeria. The polio virus infects the brain and spinal cord, and this can cause lasting muscle pain, weakness, and even paralysis. The disease has been virtually wiped out in most parts of the world. Only Pakistan and Afghanistan are still battling outbreaks of polio. Nigerian health official Faisal Shuaib says it's been 3 years since a case of polio has been reported in the country. But he says the battle continues.
However, we must not take for granted our current success because it is one which we must delicately manage with cautious euphoria and resilience. Indeed, the final steps towards polio eradication in Nigeria require continued political commitment.
Shuaib looks forward to the day when polio is relegated to the history books.
Completely eradicating all types of polio virus will be one of the greatest achievements in human history. It will have a lasting positive impact on the African continent and indeed the world's health system for generations to come.
Clement Peter of the World Health Organization says Nigeria could be free of the disease by next summer.
Nigeria will submit the final data for evaluation by March 2020, provided, of course, there is no any case recorded. If the data confirms 0 cases, the entire African region, of course, could be polio-free by middle of next year.
Polio is transmitted through contact with the feces of infected individuals through unsanitary water or food. There's no cure, but it can be prevented by immunization. Extreme e-gaming can be hazardous to your health. In Shanghai, professional esports players competed for a record $33.5 million at the International Dota 2 tournament. Gamer Evgeny Blizzy-Ri is a Dota 2 player on Team Navi. He ignored the health warnings.
Actually, he said not to play computer like for 6 months if I wanna come back, get back my vision. But I didn't listen.
Okay.
I need to play. Yeah, I need to do, but I don't do. I need to do something like this every time, but I don't do it.
As well as deteriorating eyesight, players risk suffering from digestive problems and wrist and hand damage. A theater group in Toronto has recast a short film into a stage play. Eagle News correspondent Alyssa De Jesus reviewed the play and files this report.
IN Center Stage Toronto presents Story of Scar, a rewriting of the IN Cinema Toronto original short film depicting the value of friendship, Christian brotherhood, and strong faith in God while overcoming one's own insecurities and imperfections. IN Cinema is a film production of the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ with focus on entertaining, inspiring, and educating. IN Center Stage is a theater production version that includes live music and performances.
Like any creative production project, it starts. It's a step-by-step process. So first, we had to write a script, and we had to keep revising and revising the script until it's ready. And then we had to audition across the district of Greater Toronto and found the actors. And then pretty much putting together all the production crew team along the way. It took us about 6 months to put this production together. And it's been a challenging but really rewarding journey for not just for me but for every single member of the team. So yeah, it was good.
Story of Scar tells of the life of a 16-year-old challenged by her appearance during her adolescent years.
The darkness in our lives, we do go through it. We go through with it sometimes, you know. So for Scarlett, my character, she is very faithful. She has this strong faith, and she, with the help of Dylan, her best friend, people from church, her family, she was able to, see the light out of that darkness. So I feel like for everyone going through anything right now, going through sadness, grief, all trials in this world, because it is really dark in here. So we need to hold on to our faith more stronger, so we could be able to see our path clear, just like the prayer, right? Yeah.
It was a long ride. What was it? 4 months?
Yes.
4 months of every weekend coming here to the chapel to practice over and over and over again.
And even on the weekdays, we had
even on
separate
the weekend, even on the weekdays.
rehearsals on our locales.
Yeah, just Scarlett and we've created such amazing bonds throughout this play. Like half of the people here, I didn't initially know, and I'm just friends with everyone now. It's new friendships has arisen from this, and now that it's all over, we still have those friends from all across the district.
Reporting from Toronto, Canada, this is Alyssa De Jesus, 1 with 25.
Living in a big city can be like existing in a concrete jungle. Eagle News correspondent Karina Baluran tells us about a project in Edmonton that mitigates all that cement and asphalt and renews the urban forest.
It's called Root for Trees, and the goal is to increase tree planting in the city of Edmonton. The program was launched in 2013. With the help of businesses, individuals, and community groups, it is hoped an additional 16,000 trees can be added every year. People are provided with seedlings and directed to a planting location. The city even provides the shovels and a watering jug to water all of the seedlings after planting. Catherine Falk is a community greening coordinator with the city. Falk says today's planting event in this River Valley Park is a special one.
So today's planting is really unique. Root for Trees actually has mini plantings throughout the season, and each public event that we have, we usually pick a different type of educational information that we'd like to share. And that today's information is some of the native trees and shrubs that we have in and around Edmonton that are edible or produce a berry or a nut. And so this event is called the Food Forest, and so we're working with a lot of native shrubs that produce a fruit-bearing product.
Some examples of food-producing plants are gooseberries, pine cherries, and cranberries. Falk says individual volunteers and community groups do the planting. One of the organizations taking part today is the Church of Christ.
They are a church group that do this as a part of their community services. So they do that. They planted with us last year as a public as just a guided event, and this year they've come to join us with in a public event. So it's been a great opportunity for us to have that rejuvenation.
A week earlier, several church members held a cleanup at another city park. Members picked up several bags of litter and garbage. While living in the city has its advantages, concrete streets make a person long for a bit of nature. Programs like this and the efforts of community groups such as the Church of Christ help make our city a little more livable. In Edmonton, Karina Bulurin, Eagle News. I'm 1 with 25.
Coming up, a couple of celebrations with a difference. Zookeepers stage a special birthday party. We'll meet Miss Philippines International of BC. And in sports, the latest outing for the Vancouver Whitecaps resulted in a win. You're watching Eagle News. This is Eagle News. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. Here's a couple of novel celebrations in different parts of the world. We begin in Indonesia, where last week the country marked the 74th anniversary of its independence from the Netherlands. That celebration featured a massive Panjat Pinang competition. Well, what is Panjat Pinang? It is a greasy pole climbing contest. It was held at Carnival Beach in northern Jakarta as part of the Independence Day celebration. Participants were grouped into small teams of 4 people to climb one of the 174 10-meter poles. Each team was required to hold and wave the Indonesian national flag on top of every pole to claim an additional prize. The prizes included bicycles, a portable cooker, a fan, and bags. The Panjat Pinang competition dates back to Dutch colonial days. And if you're stressed out, maybe Colombia is the place you want to be. Take a break and head to the city of Itagüí, where every year citizens mark World Laziness Day. One participant says they meet every year with other families to laugh and talk about what happened throughout the year. She calls it a reunion of laziness. Another participant says nobody does anything that day but lays around on different beds. At the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington, D.C., a birthday celebration for a giant panda. Animal keeper Shelley Pick says Bebe is the birthday boy.
So today we are celebrating Bebe's 4th birthday, and so he just got his iced birthday cake with a big number 4 on it, so he's currently enjoying that right now. It will be his last birthday here at the National Zoo. Within the next few months, he will be returning to China to participate in the breeding program there.
Now, if you're wondering about the recipe for a birthday cake fit for a giant panda, well, the ingredients included diluted apple and grape juice, fruits, and some sweet potatoes. Personally, I think I'd prefer chocolate. Let's head now to Vancouver, where the Miss Philippines International of BC beauty pageant was held. Eagle News correspondent Int'l Fajeron was there and files this report.
Tonight, we get to see what it means to be part of a cultural celebration. Miss Philippines International of BC is a platform to empower young women coming from different backgrounds. Though focused on their poise and personality, we get the chance to know more about the contestants as their individual merits, academic achievements, and talents would be recognized. Let's take a look.
Founder and director Adeline Capino discloses her why and what she intends the contestants to gain from this experience.
With my experience years ago doing Binibini Filipinas and competing in Miss International, I was just inspired to start my own organization to provide the platform for young women. I hope they actually just embody the essence of a Filipina while trying to represent the Filipino-Canadian community and just to enjoy the experience, right? It's all a learning experience.
Because it is the first Miss Philippines International of BC, young women of the Filipino-Canadian community did not pass up this opportunity. Contestants Janela and Era share the reasons of their involvement in this experience.
I found that it was very interesting to join because it actually connected me to my roots, doing a lot of the pageant prepping and all the introductions. So yeah, I've been having fun with it.
I wanted to be able to embrace my Filipino beauty and its essence, and just being a part of it has made me feel more in touch with my culture. It's just really important for me to never forget where I came from.
Contestant Angeline boasts about her new sense of pride.
It's just a more humble sense of pride of where Filipino Canadians really come from, and I feel more ingrained in the community, and I think that's really important because I myself was born here. My parents were immigrants who came here from the Philippines, so it's really nice to be able to be centered in that culture and really understand that.
Though not on Philippine soil, Pinoy pride is undeniably high here abroad. From Vancouver, now living in the Philippines, Filipino celebrity, singer-dancer AC Bonifacio tells us why she traveled the distance to mark the stage with her talents.
I just love performing for my people, I guess, for the Filipino people, because I love inspiring other people, and this is just another way to do so.
The way art moves and inspires a community has been proven to lead one to self-discoveries. All the way from San Diego, YouTube singer Alex Valoria shares a little piece of his heart with us.
Orchestrating people's emotions through music is one of the most profound feelings for me, right? Being able to share emotions and bring things out of people that they normally wouldn't have thought of through music and song.
Could having a platform to showcase talent and poise, like that of Miss Philippines International of BC, positively influence the future of a community?
Well, every single time they need a stepping stone, right, to grow to something bigger. So I think this is the stepping stone to grow the Filipino community and as a collective in BC.
What an incredible night! Beauty pageants are clearly not only about looks, but also about one's poise and personality used in influencing the community. Int'l Fajeron, Eagle News, 1/25.
In sports, 1 year after moving stateside to the MLS from the English Premier League, English football star Wayne Rooney played his debut match at BC Place in Vancouver. The story from Eagle News correspondent Anthony Sevilla.
The Vancouver Whitecaps earned a 1-0 victory over DC United in Wayne Rooney's first game at BC Place. With news surrounding some of DC United's veteran players not making the trip to Vancouver, many were skeptical of a Rooney appearance against the Whitecaps. However, a late decision saw Rooney suit up for DC United, as fans at BC Place were able to see one of the greatest players in soccer history. The tempo and energy was high right from the start between the two clubs. DC United were in control for most of the match, but failed to find the back of the net despite ending the match with 66% on possession while generating plenty of scoring chances. Rooney finished with 4 shots on goal. The English football legend shared his thoughts on the match and the challenges that the Whitecaps backline presented to them.
Yeah, we knew what they bring. They sit very deep and they do it well. So fair play to them. To defend deep, didn't defend the box well, but still I thought we created some very good chances to score. On another day we'd score 2 or 3 of them chances and win the game. But no, all credit to them. And we knew that's how they want to play, and they done well.
Vancouver goalkeeper Maxime Crapeau contributed greatly with 2 huge saves early on in the first half to keep the Whitecaps in the match. Crapeau gave his thoughts on the win and what it means to get a clean sheet against Rooney and DC United.
It feels good. Any clean sheet, it feels amazing, you know. At that point, it's points, 3 points, and after that, it's keeping a clean sheet. And now, if it's Rooney, well, even better, you know. It's a great evening.
Russell Tybert was the playmaker for Vancouver. His assist on the night led to the game winner for Whitecaps FC.
You know, our approach to the game was simple in that, you know, we have to stick to what we do defensively. And, you know, we're sound defensively, I think, the past 4 games. And we just need to keep building on that. Obviously, you know, Rooney's a big name, and he attracts a lot of attention anywhere he goes. But I think our game plan was essentially the same, and it will be the same from here on out.
Despite a disastrous season, Whitecaps look to close out the regular season strong. For DC United, this loss dropped them to 4th in the East behind NYC FC and will look to bounce back against the New York Red Bulls. Anthony Sevilla, Eagle News, 1/25.
That is this week's Eagle News. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. I'm 1/25.